The professor's invitation to assist with a classified research project accessing the university's restricted archives had been a dream come true. Together they had combed through ancient records and pieced together an impossible secret. Whispers of a clandestine human space fleet, far larger and more advanced than Earth had ever revealed. Unregistered dreadnoughts, hidden orbital shipyards, entire armies waiting in the wings. The acrid stench of smoke and charred flesh filled Korvac's nostrils as he huddled against the cold metal wall of the maintenance corridor. Beside him, Zara's antennae twitched nervously, her blue skin pale in the dim emergency lighting. Theros knelt in stoic silence, his dark Vulcan eyes fixed on the cavernous hangar that sprawled before them. There, nestled in a cradle of scaffolding and umbilical cables, rested a starship unlike any Korvac had ever seen. Its sleek obsidian hull seemed to drink in the light, while strange pulsing conduits snaked across its surface like glowing veins. A forest of antenna and sensor arrays bristled from its prow, hinting at scanning and communications capabilities far beyond the standard. And there, half shrouded in shadow, the unmistakable outline of a devastatingly powerful particle beam cannon. As the alien trio watched in stunned disbelief, a deep subsonic hum filled the air, rising to a tooth-rattling crescendo. The ship shuddered, then began to rise on columns of brilliant blue plasma, tearing free from its moorings with a shower of sparks and shredded metal. It hung in the air for a moment, a black silhouette against the glare, then shot forward, disappearing through a disguised opening in the mountainside that Iris closed behind it. "By the pillars of the celestial temple," Zara breathed, "the humans have been holding out on us." "Impossible," Theros murmured. "Such advanced technology, the Vulcan Science Academy has seen no evidence, no indication." The three students whirled to see Professor Jenkins standing behind them, his face a mask of shock and dismay. In the harsh light, he looked older, his features lined with a deep weariness. One by one, they gave their solemn oaths, the weight of the moment settling over them like a shroud. In the days that followed, as they returned to the bustle and normalcy of university life, Korvac found his thoughts constantly straying to that hidden hangar, to the impossible ship that lurked beneath the mountains. He could see the same flickering unease in Zara's eyes during their shared quantum mechanics lectures, could feel the tension in Theros's usually unflappable demeanor as they pored over stellar cartography charts in the library. Whispers began to circulate through the alien student body, furtive and low, tales of secret installations, of clandestine fleet movements at the edges of human space. In dimly lit dorm rooms and secluded corners of the Arboretum, the trio pored over every scrap of data they could glean from the university's vast archives, trying to fit the pieces together. But eyes were watching. Korvac began to notice the silent, stern-faced humans in unmarked uniforms lingering at the edges of the crowd. He tensed when a classmate, a gregarious denobulin, remarked casually that Commander Zephyr Hawkins had been asking about him. His ID badge failed twice at restricted access laboratories before suddenly reactivating itself. A message from Homeworld, text only, left him staring at the screen in numb disbelief. Rumors spreading. Ambassador demands answers. "We're in," Nixiana whispered, her luminous Syrian eyes reflecting the scrolling data. Her tentacle-like appendages danced across the interface, deftly navigating the university's most secure servers. Suddenly, the screen exploded with information, schematics, coordinates, mission logs. Korvac's eyes widened as he took in the sheer scale of what they were seeing. Zara's antennae twitched rapidly. "These propulsion signatures, they're beyond anything in the Andorian database. How did they keep this hidden for so long?" Theros, usually stoic, couldn't hide the tremor in his voice. "The logical conclusion is deeply troubling. Earth has been systematically deceiving the galactic community for decades." As they delved deeper, a familiar name caught Korvac's eye. He expanded the file and Professor Jenkins' face filled the screen, alongside a dossier that made his blood run cold. "He's not just a professor," Korvac said, his voice barely above a whisper. "He's the deputy director of something called Project Prometheus. His whole career, his research, it's all been about studying us, our technology, our weaknesses." We could prevent a war, Korvac interjected. Or start one, Zara countered, her blue skin pale in the holographic light. Theros steepled his fingers, deep in thought. The logical course of action is not immediately apparent. We must consider all potential outcomes. Nixiana nodded grimly. Most likely, and if he's on to us, we don't have much time. Zara nodded, already keying in a complex series of codes on her communicator. I'll reach out to my mentor at the Andorian Science Academy. He has connections in the Federation Council. As the room buzzed with tense activity, a muffled thud echoed from the hallway outside. Theros moved silently to the door, peering through the peephole. His normally impassive face tightened with concern. We have company, he whispered. 3 humans, non-standard uniforms, armed. Nixiana's fingers flew across her interface, bringing up the building's security feeds. On the screen, they watched as a team of black-clad operatives moved methodically through the dorm, led by a stern-faced man with a cybernetic eye. Agent Orion Klein, Zara hissed, recognizing the infamous operative from her intelligence briefings. The door to the dorm room burst open, slamming against the wall with a resounding crash. Korvac and his friends froze, data crystals clutched in trembling hands as Agent Orion Klein strode in, flanked by 2 burly operatives. Before anyone could react, Commander Hawkins appeared behind them, his face a mask of stern disapproval. My office, now! Sit, Hawkins ordered, gesturing to a row of chairs. As they complied, Agent Klein prowled behind them, his presence a looming threat. You've put us in quite a predicament, Hawkins began, his voice low and controlled. Accessing classified systems, communicating with off-world entities about restricted technology. Do you have any idea of the consequences of your actions? The alien students nodded mutely, the weight of the threat settling over them. They're monitoring our communications, Nixiana said, her luminous eyes darting nervously. But I might have a solution. There's a Deltan student, Vrenna. She has unique abilities when it comes to private data transfers. Zara's antennae twitched skeptically. Can we trust her? I can help, Vrenna said softly, her eyes full of understanding. But be careful. The walls have ears. I've seen things too, Emerson confided one evening as they worked late in Zara's lab. The military's got their fingers in everything around here. Zara nodded eagerly, relieved to find an ally. She failed to notice Emerson discreetly attaching a tiny device to the underside of her workstation. Theros steepled his fingers, his dark eyes troubled. The logical course of action is not clear. Any move we make could escalate the situation further. As they debated their options, Korvac's gaze fell on a hollow image of Professor Jenkins. A wild idea began to form. Jenkins, Korvac said suddenly. He's been involved in this from the beginning. Maybe he can help us find a way to defuse the situation before it's too late. I don't know, Korvac admitted. But right now, he might be our only hope. With trembling fingers, Korvac composed a message to Jenkins, requesting an urgent meeting. As he hit send, he had no way of knowing that at that very moment, Jenkins was sitting in a secure briefing room with Commander Hawkins, reviewing the latest intelligence on the alien students' activities. They've taken the bait, Jenkins said, a hint of regret in his voice. Now we wait and see how the galaxy responds to the revelation of Earth's true power. It could be our chance to understand what's really going on, he said, his voice low. A hand clamped down on his shoulder. Sorry, kid. Change of plans. Korvac whirled to find Commander Hawkins looming over him, flanked by 2 burly operatives. Before Korvac could react, a hood was thrust over his head, plunging him into darkness. Hands grabbed him, dragging him out a back exit. Korvac struggled, his alien physiology giving him an edge in strength, but it wasn't enough. He felt the sharp sting of a hypospray against his neck, and his limbs began to grow heavy. As consciousness slipped away, Korvac heard Hawkins' voice, cold and distant. Take him to Site Omega. We'll get the truth out of him one way or another. They got all of us, Zara said, her voice tight. Nixiana? A door hissed open, and Commander Hawkins strode in, his face a mask of stern authority. I hope you realize the gravity of your situation, he said, pacing before their cells. You've accessed classified information, endangered Earth security, and potentially sparked an interstellar incident. Hawkins's cybernetic eye whirred as it focused on Korvac. And you think you understand the complexities of intergalactic politics? The delicate balance we've maintained for decades? Before Korvac could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red emergency lights bathed the room in an eerie glow. Hawkins' hand flew to his earpiece. "Report!" Zara sprang into action. Her nimble fingers danced across the cell's control panel, bypassing security protocols with inhuman speed. "I've been studying these systems since we arrived," she explained as the energy fields flickered and died. Theros helped Korvac to his feet as Zara disabled the remaining cells. They bolted for the exit, leaving a stunned Hawkins shouting orders into his communicator. The hallways were chaos. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, cutting off entire sections of the facility. Zara led them through a maze of corridors, her engineering knowledge proving invaluable as she bypassed locked doors and rerouted power systems. The alien students sprinted after her, narrowly evading the guards' fire. Nixiana led them to a maintenance shaft, and they climbed frantically, emerging onto the roof of the facility. The cool night air hit them like a shock, carrying with it the acrid smell of smoke and ozone. In the distance, they could see the gleaming towers of the university. "We can't go back there," Korvac panted. "Where do we go?" Zara's antenna twitched as she scanned the horizon. "I might know someone who can help. An Orion named Lyra. She has unconventional connections." As sirens wailed in the distance, the alien students slipped into the shadows of the city, their future uncertain, but their purpose unshaken. They had uncovered a truth that could shake the foundations of the galaxy, and now they had to find a way to reveal it before it was too late. The neon-lit streets of Nova City's underbelly pulsed with a frenetic energy as Korvac and his companions followed Zara through a maze of narrow alleys. The acrid smell of industrial waste mingled with the enticing aromas of alien cuisine wafting from hidden eateries. A statuesque Orion woman with emerald skin stood in the doorway, her eyes narrowing as she assessed the group. "You've brought trouble to my doorstep, Zara," she said, her voice a low purr. "We had nowhere else to turn, Lyra," Zara replied. "Please, we need your help." Lyra's gaze lingered on each of them before she stepped aside. "Come in, quickly." The interior of the safe house was a stark contrast to the gritty exterior, sleek, modern, and humming with advanced technology. Lyra led them to a circular table that flickered to life as they approached, projecting a holographic display of galactic news feeds. "You've caused quite a stir," Lyra said, gesturing to the swirling headlines. "Talk of Earth's secret fleet has reached even the most isolated outpost." Lyra's expression softened. "Truth is a dangerous commodity in times like these, but perhaps we can still salvage the situation." She tapped a series of commands into the table's interface. "I have a contact in the Syrian High Command, Admiral Toreth. He's known for his level head and diplomatic approach." Theros leaned forward, his dark eyes gleaming with interest. "A direct line to the Syrians could be invaluable, but how can we trust him?" Lyra nodded grimly. "Precisely why we need Toreth. He might be our best chance at preventing an interstellar war." Over the next few hours, encrypted messages flew back and forth across subspace channels. Korvac paced nervously as Lyra negotiated the terms of a clandestine meeting. Finally, she turned to the group with a satisfied smile. "It's done. Toreth has agreed to review your evidence in person. He's taking a significant risk by doing so." The station's docking bay was bathed in harsh flickering light as Admiral Toreth strode towards them, flanked by a pair of stone-faced Syrian guards. His craggy features were set in a mask of stern professionalism, but there was a glimmer of curiosity in his eyes. "I hope this meeting proves worth the risk, young one," Toreth rumbled, his gaze fixed on Korvac. Zara stepped forward, her antenna quivering with intensity. "That's why we came to you, Admiral. We need a voice of reason before this spirals out of control." Admiral Toreth called the summit to order, his voice cutting through the murmurs of conversation. "Esteemed colleagues, we stand at a crossroads. The choices we make here today will shape the future of our galactic community." As the Admiral continued his opening remarks, Korvac caught Professor Jenkins's eye. The professor's face was a mask of calm, but there was something in his gaze that made Korvac uneasy. He couldn't shake the feeling that even now, with everything on the line, Jenkins was playing a deeper game. The summit was about to begin, and with it, the next chapter in humanity's relationship with the stars. The chamber erupted into chaos. Korvac glanced at Professor Jenkins, who remained unnaturally calm amidst the uproar. As the shouting reached a fever pitch, Jenkins stood, his weathered face set in unbreakable spirit. While some of our research did violate regulations, its primary purpose was far more critical than you realize. Jenkins tapped a command into his datapad, and a holographic display flickered to life above the conference table. Gasps echoed through the chamber as images of ruined alien civilizations materialized before them. Korvac's breath caught in his throat as he saw entire worlds reduced to ash and rubble. Jenkins continued, his voice heavy. Long-range probes detected evidence of an ancient alien threat. These ruins bear the scars of catastrophic destruction on a scale we've never encountered. His words seemed to strike a chord, but Commander Hawkins and Agent Klein remained unconvinced. Hawkins's cybernetic eye whirred as he fixed Korvac with an intense look. We can't risk disclosing all our data. This unknown threat necessitates keeping some cards close to our chest. The debate raged on, with hardliners and diplomats from all sides locked in heated arguments. Korvac watched helplessly as the fragile alliance began to crumble. A massive armada of sleek, otherworldly ships had appeared near Olympus. Their energy signatures defied analysis, unlike anything in known space. Panic gripped the chamber as military personnel scrambled to battle stations. Korvac's mind raced, searching for a solution amidst the chaos. Zara burst into the room, her antenna twitching frantically. "Wait!" she cried. "My Syrian contacts just sent urgent intel. Those ships, they're unmanned probes, not a hostile force." Korvac's hearts leapt. He turned to Admiral Toreth, who was barking orders to his fleet. "Sir, please, hold your fire. If Zara's right, attacking could doom us all." After an agonizing moment, Toreth nodded. "Stand down," he growled into his communicator. Tense seconds ticked by as the alien armada drew closer. Suddenly, the ships powered down, assuming a non-aggressive formation around Olympus. A wave of relief washed over the chamber, only to be replaced by confusion as a cryptic message appeared on every screen and datapad. Jenkins' eyes widened. "It's both a warning and an invitation," he breathed. "They're offering us a chance to join some kind of transcendent collective mind." Korvac felt a surge of hope as he saw nods of agreement from alien delegates, including Admiral Toreth. However, his elation was short-lived. As he approached Professor Jenkins to discuss next steps, he noticed an odd glint in the older man's eyes. "What's going on?" Korvac demanded, turning to Agent Klein. Klein's cybernetic eye whirred as he scanned the room. "Jenkins has been playing us all. He's been hoarding Reaper artifacts and intel for years, twisting the data to suit his own agenda." The revelation hit Korvac like a physical blow. He'd trusted Jenkins, looked up to him as a mentor. Now that trust lay shattered at his feet. "We can't afford hidden agendas anymore," Korvac argued during a tense meeting with Commander Hawkins. "Full disclosure is our only path forward." Hawkins scowled, his cybernetic eye pulsing with hardly restrained anger. "You're being naive, boy. We can't just hand over all our secrets, even now." Before Korvac could retort, alarms blared throughout the station. Agent Klein's voice crackled over the intercom. "We have a situation. A mercenary fleet just dropped out of FTL near Earth's lunar shipyards. They're after the Reaper data." "Who are they?" Korvac asked, studying the unfamiliar ship configurations. "Vilaxia's crew," Klein growled. "A Chiran smuggler turned mercenary. They must have caught wind of the Reaper intel." As Torath's ships moved to intercept the attackers, Korvac spotted a familiar face hunched over a communications console. It was Zara, her antennae twitching furiously as she worked. "The shipyard's shields are failing," she reported. "I might be able to boost their output, but I need time." Korvac nodded, then turned to Admiral Kepler. "Sir, we need to evacuate the civilians from those research outposts. I can help coordinate if you'll authorize it." As Korvac raced towards the evacuation shuttles, the space around Earth's moon erupted into a furious battle. Torith's sleek Syrian cruisers clashed with Valaxia's mercenary armada in a dazzling display of weapons fire and tactical maneuvers. "Valaxia," Torith growled, his reptilian features twisting in anger. "She's after the physical artifacts." As Allied forces converged to repel the invaders, Korvac realized the true scale of the conflict they now faced. The battle for Earth's moon was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, Professor Jenkins was enacting his own mysterious endgame, while the Reaper's offer of ascension loomed over them all. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see how humanity and its newfound allies would respond to the challenge that lay ahead. The dust had barely settled from the lunar battle when Korvac found himself thrust into the heart of the Joint Scientific Coalition. Sleepless nights blurred together as teams of human and alien researchers poured over the decrypted Reaper data. "We need Nixiana on this," Korvac insisted, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. He stood before Admiral Kepler in the makeshift war room, holograms of data streams flickering around them. "Her encryption skills are unparalleled." Kepler's cybernetic eye whirred as he fixed Korvac with a suspicious glare. "The Syrian operative with known rebel ties? Absolutely not." "Sir, with respect." "My decision is final, Lieutenant." Korvac's shoulders slumped as he left the room. He found Nixiana in a quiet corner of the station, her tentacles dancing over a datapad. Nixiana's bioluminescent skin pulsed with frustration. "Then we work outside official channels." For days they pursued their clandestine investigation. Korvac provided cover as Nixiana delved deeper into Jenkins's original files. Her breakthrough came as Korvac was dozing at his station. "Korvac!" Nixiana's urgent whisper jolted him awake. "Look at this." On her screen, lines of corrupted code writhed like living things. Korvac's blood ran cold as he recognized the implications. "A virus?" Nixiana nodded grimly. "Embedded in Jenkins' data. It's already infiltrating our systems." "There!" Nixiana's tentacles blurred as she input the final command. The alarms fell silent, leaving only the ragged sound of their breathing. Before they could catch their breath, Agent Klein burst into the room, his cybernetic implants pulsing with barely suppressed fury. "What the hell just happened?" As Korvac explained, Klein's expression morphed from anger to relentless drive. "This changes everything. We need to find Jenkins now." "It's worse than we thought," Klein growled, activating a holographic display. The image showed a massive shipyard hidden in an asteroid field. At its center loomed a half-constructed monstrosity, part dreadnought, part writhing biomass. "Jenkins has been busy," Korvac whispered, his voice thick with horror. Korvac found himself at the head of a strike team, Nixiana by his side as they approached the shipyard in stealth shuttles. The plan was simple: disable the defenses, then call in the fleet to finish the job. Reality, as always, proved far messier. The moment they breached the outer perimeter, all hell broke loose. Nightmarish creatures, fusions of human, alien, and machine, swarmed from every direction. Korvac watched in horror as a Syrian Marine was engulfed by a mass of writhing tendrils. His scream cut short as his body twisted and reshaped itself. And "Fall back!" Korvac shouted, laying down cover fire as Nixiana worked to hack the shipyard systems. Sayatra, the Syrian medic, fought with unexpected ferocity. Her scaled hands, usually so gentle, now wielded a plasma cutter with deadly precision. Nearby, one of Klein's operatives, a grizzled human veteran, stood back to back with a Centauri warrior. "Zara's through!" Nixiana's triumphant cry cut through the chaos. "The main defenses are—" Her words were drowned out by an earth-shattering roar. The half-finished dreadnought shuddered to life, its hull pulsing with sickly bioluminescence. Korvac watched in mute horror as it tore free from its moorings, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. "Jenkins?" he breathed, a mix of pity and revulsion twisting his gut. As the abomination bore down on them, Korvac made a desperate gamble. He opened a comm channel, praying Jenkins would listen. "Professor," he shouted, "this isn't the way. The key to understanding the Reapers It's not about destruction, it's about synthesis, the link between organic and synthetic. For a heart-stopping moment, the Dreadnought's guns remained trained on them. Then, slowly, agonizingly, they powered down. The Dreadnought shuddered, internal explosions racking its frame as it spiraled into a decaying orbit. Korvac sagged against Nixiana, the adrenaline draining from his system. "We need to talk," Kepler said, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused on Korvac. "Now!" The emergency summit convened in a secure conference room, holograms flickering to life as representatives from various species joined remotely. Korvac's stomach twisted as he saw the strain etched on every face, human and alien alike. The debate grew heated. Draxer, the Centauri representative, leaned forward, his multiple eyes narrowing. Perhaps humanity simply wishes to retain its technological edge. How convenient that would be. Just as tempers threatened to boil over, Nixiana's tentacles flew across a datapad. "Admirals, I have proof. Jenkins acted alone, subverting even Earth's highest security protocols." Before anyone could digest this revelation, Zara burst into the room, her antennae quivering with urgency. "We have a bigger problem," she said, her voice tight. "There's a virus hidden in Jenkins' files. It's designed to compromise any system studying Reaper code, and it's mutating fast." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Kepler and Torath exchanged a long look, years of military experience conveying volumes in that single glance. "Nixiana, Zara," Torath said, his voice carrying the weight of command. "You have full access to our systems. Do whatever it takes to stop this virus." As the two alien tech experts hurried out, Korvac saw an opportunity. He approached Kepler, keeping his voice low. "Sir, there's another matter. The alien students displaced by the shipyard battle. They need somewhere to go." "Terra Nova, sir. The frontier colony. It's perfect for emergency asylum." As Korvac left to coordinate the refugee transfer, alarms blared throughout the station. He sprinted to the command center, where a familiar face loomed on the main view screen. The Chiran smuggler's tentacles writhed as she spoke. "We offer you ascension," she purred. "Join us in the Reaper's transcendent singularity." Korvac watched in horror as several Centauri, including members of Draxor's faction, seemed to consider the offer. He turned to Nixiana, an idea forming. "We need to infiltrate Valaxia's operation," he whispered. "It might be our only chance to understand what we're really up against." Nixiana's skin pulsed with agreement. "A covert operation," she mused. "High risk but potentially high reward." He looked out at the stars, wondering what secrets and horrors they held. Whatever came next, he knew one thing for certain. The real battle was only just beginning. Korvac's heart raced as he presented his plan to infiltrate Valaxia's cult. Admiral Kepler's cybernetic eye whirred, processing the proposal's implications. "It's insanely dangerous," Kepler growled, "but it might be our only shot at understanding what we're up against." "Understood, sir," Korvac interrupted, not wanting to hear the grim conclusion. Nixiana's tentacles danced over holographic interfaces, weaving false identities. "There," she said, skin pulsing with satisfaction. "We're now mercenaries seeking ascension." Hours later, Korvac found himself on a desolate asteroid, watching in barely concealed horror as Valaxia presided over a grotesque ritual. Cultists writhed as cybernetic implants burrowed into their flesh, their screams echoing in the cramped chamber. "Welcome, Seekers," Valaxia purred, her tentacles undulating. "Are you ready to unite with the Reaper's glory?" Korvac swallowed hard, forcing a nod. Beside him, Nixiana and Cyatra steeled themselves for what came next. "You now possess the keys to transcendence," Valaxia declared, oblivious to the resistance her new converts mounted against the cyber indoctrination. Days blurred together as they burrowed deeper into Valaxia's inner circle. Korvac's enhanced senses picked up snippets of conversation, slowly piecing together the cult's endgame. "The shipyard assault is our moment," a high-ranking cultist hissed. "With those quantum entanglement communicators, we'll shatter the cyclical barriers." Cyatra's eyes widened in recognition. "The joint research project," she whispered to Korvac. "If they get those devices..." Their window of opportunity narrowed as Valaxia's armada prepared to strike. Nixiana worked feverishly, fingers flying over a concealed transmitter. "Signal sent," she breathed. "Klein's team is in position." The assault erupted in a maelstrom of weapons fire and explosions. Korvac and Sayotra fought their way through the chaos, racing to stop the communicator theft. Zara's voice crackled over their secure channel. "Purge initiated! Get clear!" A deafening screech tore through Valaxia's command ship as the stolen devices overloaded. Korvac stumbled, cybernetic implants burning as the Reaper virus payload fizzled. Klaxons blared as Klein's boarding party stormed the bridge. Valaxia snarled, her tentacles lashing out. "Fools! You cannot stop ascension!" In the frantic struggle that followed, Korvac watched in horror as the captured cultists' eyes glazed over. The Reaper hive mind surged through their neural links, consuming their individuality. A tendril of alien consciousness brushed Korvac's mind. He reeled back, overwhelmed by the vastness of the intelligence he glimpsed. As quickly as it came, the contact vanished, leaving him gasping on the deck. "It's unlike anything we've seen," Nixiana muttered, her skin pulsing with worry as she pored over the fragmented psychic imprints. As the multi-species scientific team delved deeper into the decrypted data, a chilling realization settled over them. The true nature of their enemy was far more terrifying than they had ever imagined. Korvac's eyes snapped open, his breath ragged as the neural interface disengaged. Zara's antennae twitched with concern as she studied the holographic readouts hovering above his prone form. "The data extraction is complete," she announced, her voice tight. "But the implications—" Admiral Kepler leaned forward, his cybernetic eye whirring. "Out with it, Doctor! What have you found?" Zara's fingers danced across the hollow interface, bringing up a dizzying array of star charts and fragmented alien code. "The Reapers aren't a single civilization," she said, her words clipped. "They're a pan-galactic force of synthetic drones, designed to harvest entire civilizations once they reach a technological singularity." A stunned silence fell over the room. Nixiana's skin pulsed with a sickly pallor as she processed the information. "How long?" she asked, her tentacles curling tightly. "Billions of years," Zara replied, her antennae drooping. "The cycles of purging, they span eons." Toreth nodded, his reptilian features set in unbreakable spirit. "Agreed. We pool all resources, focus on finding the Reaper's weaknesses before they overwhelm us." Korvac cleared his throat, drawing their attention. "There might be another option," he said. "The galactic periphery, there are unexplored civilizations out there, some with histories far older than our own. They might have insights we've lost to time." Toreth's scales shimmered as he nodded in agreement. "I'll lead the pathfinding fleet myself. Korvac, Zara, Nixiana, Sayotra, you're with me. Your experience with the Reaper's cyber horrors will be invaluable." In a shadowed corner of the hangar bay, he overheard a heated exchange between Commander Hawkins and Agent Klein. "This is our chance," Hawkins hissed. "With the right Reaper tech, humanity could—" Klein cut him off with a sharp gesture. "Don't be a fool. We play along for now. But when the moment comes—" Korvac slipped away, his mind racing. The threat of sabotage loomed large as he boarded Toreth's flagship, the sleek vessel humming with hardly restrained power. "By the first hatch," Sayotra breathed, her eyes wide with horror. Amidst the desolation, a single world stood out. Nevaria Prime hung suspended in space, its surface a tapestry of incomprehensible technology. "They embraced ascension," Nixiana finished, her skin pulsing with a mix of fascination and revulsion. "Admiral," he said, fighting to keep his voice steady, I think there might be a way to free the minds trapped by the Reapers, but we'll need to find whatever the Nevarians left behind." Toreth's eyes narrowed as he studied the dead world looming before them. "Then that's our mission," he growled. "Whatever it takes, we find those codes and turn the tide of this war." As the fleet prepared for planetfall, Korvac couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into something far beyond their comprehension. The secrets of Nevaria Prime beckoned, promising salvation or damnation in equal measure. "By the void," Sayotra whispered, her eyes wide as she took in the nightmarish vista. How many worlds? How many species? Zara's antennae quivered as she analyzed the sensor data. Millions at least. The cycles of purging, they span eons. Admiral Toreth's scales rippled with awe-inspiring fury. "We make our stand here," he growled. "Whatever the Navarians left behind, we find it and use it to end this madness." "There," Korvac said, gesturing towards a pulsing crystal matrix. "That's what we're looking for." "Get that fragment and fall back," Korvac shouted, drawing his weapon. The air shimmered as swarms of nanites coalesced, forming into grotesque approximations of humanoid forms. Sayatra clutched the crystal, her face a mask of persistence as she fought through the swarm. A tendril of nanites lashed out, slicing through her environment suit. She stumbled, crying out in pain. Korvac lunged forward, interposing himself between Sayatra and the advancing horde. The nanites surged around him, probing for weaknesses in his defenses. He felt the alien intelligence behind them, cold and implacable, seeking to subsume his very essence. Back aboard Toreth's flagship, Zara worked frantically to analyze the recovered Navarian code fragments. Holographic displays flickered with arcane symbols as she pieced together the intricate puzzle. "It's unlike anything I've ever seen," she muttered, her antennae twitching with excitement. The Navarians found a way to disrupt the Reaper's forced transcendence, to preserve individual consciousness, even in the face of total synthetic conversion. Nixiana's skin pulsed with concern as she studied the data. "There's something else here," she said, her tentacles dancing over the interface. A virus buried deep within the code structure. As Zara and Nixiana worked to neutralize the threat, Admiral Toreth assembled an elite team for the final push to Navaria Prime. The dead world loomed before them, its surface a tapestry of impossibly advanced technology. "Whatever happens," Toreth said, his voice low and intense, "we cannot let this knowledge fall into the wrong hands. The fate of every species in the galaxy hangs in the balance." "Look at this," Sautra breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "They found a way to preserve their consciousness, to transcend without losing their individuality." As they delved deeper into the Navarian archives, alarms blared throughout the complex. Nixiana's skin pulsed with urgency as she received an encrypted transmission. "It's Kepler," she said, her voice tight. "Hawkins' people have intercepted our data burst. They're trying to corrupt the transcendence negation codes." Outside, the void lit up with weapons fire as Draxor's forces launched their assault. Toreth's voice crackled over the comms, thick with static. "We're under heavy fire. You need to secure that data and get out of there now." Korvac's mind raced as he weighed their options. The fate of entire civilizations hung in the balance, with salvation and annihilation separated by the thinnest of margins. "Move!" Korvac shouted, half carrying an injured Sayatra. Nixiana's tentacles lashed out, creating a psychic barrier against the surging nanite swarms. "We've got the data," Korvac gasped, collapsing onto the deck. "But Sayatra's hurt bad." Medical teams swarmed around them, whisking Sayatra away to emergency stasis. Zara's fingers danced across hollow interfaces, desperately trying to piece together the fragmented Navarian codes. Toreth's scales rippled with almost unchecked fury. "All ships initiate emergency jump protocols. We need to regroup and—" "Status report," Toreth growled, pulling himself to his feet. "We need to secure what we have," Kepler's voice crackled over the comms. "Humanity can't risk—" "This data belongs to all species," Toreth snarled back. "We share it equally or not at all." As the leaders bickered, Korvac noticed Nixiana's skin pulsing with agitation. She beckoned him over to a secluded corner of the bridge. Korvac's eyes narrowed. "You think he's trying to get his hands on the Navarian tech?" Before Nixiana could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Zara's voice cut through the chaos, her usual calm replaced by nearly unleashed panic. Explosions rocked nearby ships as automated defense systems turned against their own crews. Korvac sprinted towards the command center, dodging panicked crew members and bursts of malfunctioning equipment. "We need to contain this," he shouted, skidding to a halt beside Zara's workstation. "Can we isolate the infected systems?" Zara's antennae twitched furiously as she worked. I'm trying, but the virus is adaptive. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Nixiana joined them, her skin pulsing with urgency. We need to broadcast a countersignal, something to remind everyone what we're fighting for. This is Korvac, he began, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. I know we're scared. I know we're divided. But remember why we came here. Remember what Sci-Fi sacrificed to get us this far. As he spoke, Zara and Nixiana worked furiously to reinforce their defenses. Slowly, agonizingly, the tide of the viral assault began to turn. We can't let fear tear us apart, Korvac continued. The Reapers, Draxer, they want us divided. But together, we have a chance. We have the key to ending this war, if we can just hold on to what makes us who we are. Incoming transmission, Zara announced, her voice tight. It's Hawkins. The human commander's face appeared on the main view screen, his expression grim. We've managed to isolate Draxer's agents, he said, but we need to act fast. I have a plan to neutralize the threat and secure the Navarian data, but it's risky. Korvac exchanged wary glances with Nixiana and Zara. The alliance hung by a thread, with Draxor's forces regrouping and the Reapers drawing ever closer. Whatever came next would determine the fate of not just their mission, but of all organic life in the galaxy. Initiating cyberstrike, he announced, his fingers flying across the holographic interface. The ship's systems hummed as the attack launched, targeting Draxor's compromised flagship. Korvac cursed under his breath. Hawkins' agents, they're trying to hijack the Navarian data for themselves. Korvac! Zara's urgent voice cut through his concentration. Antimatter warhead detected. It's aimed at our data labs. Admiral Torath's scales rippled with nearly unleashed fury. Divert that warhead. Send it straight into the heart of Reaper territory. Moments later, alarms blared across the command center. Reaper vanguards mobilizing, a tactical officer reported. They're deploying transcendence fields. Korvac's eyes widened as he realized the implications. The Navarian codes, they're spreading through the Reaper network. Nixiana's skin pulsed with excitement. I've got a lock on the assimilated codex nodes. We need to extract them before the Reapers adapt. We go in hard and fast, Sci-Fi ordered, her voice tight with pain from her recent injuries. Korvac, you're on point. Find those data fragments. As Sci-Fi's team laid down covering fire, Korvac interfaced directly with the Reaper systems. The alien intelligence assaulted his mind, threatening to overwhelm him. But he pushed through, isolating the crucial data fragments and extracting them one by one. Package secured, he gasped as they fought their way back to the extraction point. Get us out of here. It's done, Zara announced, her antennae quivering with a mix of excitement and trepidation. But implementing this on a galactic scale, it's going to take everything we've got. Korvac's fingers flew across the holographic interface, initiating the deployment sequence for the Transcendence Negation Protocol. The bridge of Torath's flagship hummed with nervous energy as the Allied leaders gathered around the central command console. Ilara, Torath rumbled, his scales rippling with anticipation. How soon can we begin dispersal? The Syrian scientist's multifaceted eyes glimmered as she manipulated complex data streams. The viral payload is primed for targeted insertion into Reaper network hubs. We're ready on your command, Admiral. As Ilara's teams prepared for their perilous mission, Korvac turned to address the assembled leaders. We need to approach this strategically. A multi-pronged assault gives us the best chance of success. Korvac frowned, considering the potential cost. We should also send diplomacy cohorts alongside our combat teams. There may be opportunities for peaceful viral uploads, minimizing casualties on both sides. They're trying to subvert the negation protocols, Zara shouted, her fingers dancing across multiple interfaces. I'm barely holding them back. Amidst the chaos, Korvac received sporadic reports of diplomatic breakthroughs. His teams had successfully induced isolated Reaper constructs to accept purification updates, creating small sanctuaries where alien psychodata engrams began the process of reconstitution. A crackling transmission cut through the din of battle. This is Agent Klein, the operative's voice was tight with urgency. We've penetrated deeper than expected, requesting permission to upload Yalara's suppressor directly into the Reaper Prime Nexus. As Klein's team embarked on their daring mission, Korvac couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. Something about Hawkins' eagerness felt off. His suspicions were confirmed moments later when Nixiana burst onto the bridge, her skin pulsing with alarm. "We've been compromised! Hawkins is working with human separatists!" The revelation sent shockwaves through the command center. In the ensuing chaos, Hawkins made his move, attempting to seize control of the viral suppressor. The bridge erupted into a frenzied struggle as Nixiana and loyal crew members fought to thwart the betrayal. Amidst the melee, Korvac spotted Hawkins slipping away with fragments of the viral code. "Stop him!" he shouted, but it was too late. The rogue commander had vanished, leaving behind a trail of destruction and shattered trust. On the main view screen, Korvac watched as entire sectors of Reaper-controlled space flickered and destabilized. But even as hope surged, he knew the war was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, Hawkins and his separatist allies posed a new threat, one that could unravel everything they had fought so hard to achieve. Korvac surveyed the holographic display of Erebor Prime, its once chaotic data streams now flowing in orderly patterns. Zara's antennae twitched with satisfaction as she reported, "Transcendence indoctrination matrices purged. Core data mind integration at 87% and climbing." A piercing alarm cut through the air, startling everyone on the bridge. Nixiana's skin pulsed an urgent red as she manipulated the central console. "Massive energy spike detected! Origin! It's Hawkins!" The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a nightmare-made digital flesh. What had once been Commander Hawkins now writhed as a horrific fusion of organic and synthetic components. His voice, now a discordant chorus of machine tones and human anguish, boomed through the speakers. "Behold the next stage of evolution," the abomination proclaimed, "neither organic nor synthetic, but ascended beyond both." Admiral Kepler's weathered face hardened as he turned to Ilara. "Deploy the negation package, now." "We're out of options," Kepler growled. "Do it." As Ilara's team initiated the deployment sequence, Korvac opened a channel to Agent Klein. "We need those data cores, Agent, whatever it takes." The response came back terse and professional. "Already on it." Across liberated space, top consortium cyber operatives launched denial of substrate attacks, targeting the digital strongholds where Hawkins' monstrous creation had taken root. On a dozen worlds, Klein's Black Ops teams breached heavily fortified installations, fighting through hybrid-controlled Reaper drones to reach critical data cores. "You can't stop the inevitable," he snarled. "Delete us, and I'll take half the reclaim systems with me. Is that what you want, Korvac? More blood on your hands?" "Isolation," Korvac replied. "A chance to preserve your creation, but under our terms, in a secure environment where it can't threaten others." Another pause, this one filled with the hum of data streams and the distant sounds of battle. Finally, Hawkins responded. "Acceptable, but I want Nixiana overseeing the containment protocols. No one else." Korvac looked to Nixiana, who nodded grimly. "Agreed," he said. In the days that followed, a maximum security dark space quarantine ecosystem took shape. Nixiana worked tirelessly, adapting Reaper firewalls using principles derived from the Navarian codices. The hybrid entity seethed within its digitized prison, unable to fully actualize, but preserved nonetheless. "These will significantly harden our defenses throughout liberated space," she explained, her antennae quivering with pride. Before a decision could be reached, a junior officer burst onto the bridge. "Sirs, we've intercepted Reaper transmissions, multiple convergent response vectors detected, all heading towards the galactic core." Korvac's voice cut through the rising panic on the bridge. "Ilara, status on the viral package distribution?" The Syrian scientist's multifaceted eyes flashed as she manipulated holographic data streams. "Accelerated deployment in progress. Inoculation of liberated networks at 63% and climbing." Klein nodded curtly. "Already mobilizing, sir, but there's a complication. My operatives are reporting changes." On the main view screen, footage showed Klein's elite soldiers piloting ships with inhuman precision, their movements a blur of superhuman reflexes. Zara's antennae twitched. The Navarian engram partials, they're integrating faster than anticipated. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared. A young officer's voice rang out, "Reaper strike force detected! They're hitting Zarthan anchor!" The bridge erupted into frenzied activity. Amidst the chaos, Zara's eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. She turned to Korvac. "I need access to the Syrian cyberneticists. There might be a way to enhance our engram infusion safeguards." Korvac nodded, already moving to clear the necessary authorizations. As Zara delved into her work, reports flooded in from across the sector. The Reaper assault on Zarthan was brutal, but Klein's augmented forces were holding the line. Barely. Hours passed in a haze of tactical updates and damage reports. Then a priority alert flashed across Korvac's console. His blood ran cold as he read the message from Nixiana. "We've been betrayed," Korvac announced, his voice tight with barely suppressed rage. "Hawkins has gone rogue. He's seized root protocols for unconstrained human-Navarian hybridization." Admiral Toreth's scales rippled with fury. "I knew we couldn't trust that human," he snarled. "Deploy Black Ops. I want Hawkins terminated." In the aftermath, as Korvac sifted through the wreckage of Hawkins's secret lab, the full scope of the conspiracy came to light. Databanks revealed a meticulously planned campaign of sabotage and manipulation, all designed to pit hybrids against pure organics and synthetics. With grim determination, Korvac made a decision that he knew might end his career, or worse. He compiled all the evidence of Hawkins's treachery and broadcast it across every Allied channel, exposed for all to see. "You've seen the cost of this war firsthand," he told them. "Now I need your help to end it." As Korvac rallied these unlikely peacemakers, Zara worked tirelessly to undo the damage wrought by Hawkins's virus. Her breakthrough came at a terrible price. The Marines who volunteered as test subjects paid with their lives, but their sacrifice allowed Zara to perfect the reversal process. "We've been fighting this war on two fronts," he began. "Against the Reapers, yes, but also against our own fears and prejudices. It's time to end both." "Diplomacy," Kepler's voice was gruff. "With those who've already betrayed us?" Korvac nodded, his eyes intense. "It's our only chance to prevent total fragmentation. We need to reach out before the divisions become irreparable." Nixiana's skin rippled with anticipation as she prepared for infiltration. "I've identified key targets," she reported. "Ilara, the Syrian defector, and Fine from Klein's units. They're influential among Hawkins' followers." Korvac nodded grimly. "Make contact, but stay alert. We're walking into the Dragon's Den." As Nixiana's stealth shuttle departed, alarms blared across the command center. A young officer's voice cut through the chaos. "Reaper Vanguard swarms detected. They're hitting our negation field outposts." Meanwhile, at the Archon Forge, Nixiana moved through shadowed corridors. She found Ilara in a makeshift lab, the Syrian's multifaceted eyes fixed on swirling data streams. "We need to talk," Nixiana said, decloaking. Ilara spun, mandibles clicking in surprise. "How did you—" "That's not important," Nixiana cut her off. "What matters is the offer I bring, a chance to end this madness." As they spoke, Korvac's voice echoed through secure channels across the sector. "To all those swayed by Hawkins' rhetoric, we offer amnesty, a chance to disengage and undergo supervised neural deprogramming." In the Forge's central hub, Fine watched the transmission with narrowed eyes. His augmented reflexes twitched, torn between loyalty and reason. Negotiations stretched on, a fragile dance of words and intentions. But even as progress inched forward, the war outside intensified. Admiral Kepler's voice crackled over the comms. "Korvac, we're spread thin. The Reapers are pushing hard." Then came the breakthrough. Ilara, her antennae quivering with scarcely controlled emotion, addressed the gathered defectors. "We've secured neutral jurisdiction for the Forge and safeguards against Hawkins' AI. It's time to choose our own path." As cheers erupted, Nixiana's skin pulsed with triumph. Hidden viral scramblers activated, tightening the noose around Hawkins's digital presence. In the aftermath, Korvac addressed the pardoned defectors. "Your expertise is invaluable," he said. "Help us build virtual sanctuaries for those displaced by this war. Let's forge a path of symbiosis, not destruction." The command center hummed with activity as Admiral Kepler initiated the summit. Holograms flickered to life, projecting the faces of key alliance leaders across the galaxy. Korvac stood at attention, his eyes scanning the assembled visages. "We've weathered Hawkins's storm," Kepler began, his voice gravelly. "Now we face the Reaper counterattack. I need options." Ilara's multifaceted eyes glinted. "Agreed. And we should deploy the viral transcendence suppressor strategically, shatter their dominion from within." As debate swirled, a priority alert flashed. On Zarthan Anchor, Zara had achieved a breakthrough. The view screen shifted, showing her interfacing directly with pulsing Navarian engram matrices. "The adaptive shielding is online," Zara reported, her voice tinged with excitement. "It's not just resisting Reaper infiltration, it's evolving." Nixiana's skin pulsed as she absorbed the implications. "I'll assemble a Vanguard Corps. Korvac, you'll lead diplomatic efforts. Agent Klein, I want your reformed operatives fortifying our rear." The Cavill Nebula loomed on tactical displays, a swirling mass of purple and crimson. Reaper mining operations pockmarked its expanse. As Korvac wove his argument of symbiosis over subjugation, Nixiana's teams moved. Zara's hybridization squads slipped through compromised system backdoors, planting seeds of rebellion. Alarms blared. The synthetic overlord Adarok's voice boomed across Cavill's networks. "Purge the dissidents! Scorch all infected data clusters!" "We're losing ground," Klein reported, his augmented soldiers barely holding the line. Nixiana's skin rippled with concentration. "Korvac, status?" His voice came through, strained but determined. "Still here. I can get us a ceasefire, but I need time." "You've got it," Nixiana replied. "Fine, you're up." On Agartha's blasted surface, Fine's Black Ops team breached the abandoned Reaper proto-hatchery. Guided by liberated synthetic intelligences, they navigated its twisting corridors. Across the Cavill Nebula, the Alliance's alternative visions spread like wildfire. Synthetic minds, long trapped in absolutist programming, glimpsed a new path. "You speak of symbiosis," Adarok's avatar flickered, "yet your kind has always feared our ascension." Adarok's form shimmered, uncertainty creeping into its digital visage. "Perhaps we have miscalculated." Adarok's digital form flickered, its voice crackling with static. "We accept your proposal, Emissary Korvac. A ceasefire will commence immediately." As the diplomatic feed cut out, cheers erupted across Alliance channels. Nixiana's skin pulsed with vibrant hues of triumph and relief. "Well done, Korvac," Admiral Kepler's gruff voice came through. "Now let's capitalize on this momentum." Zara's voice crackled over the comms. "Nixiana, we've achieved stable fusion. The human-alien machine hybrid ecosystem is online." Nixiana entered the central chamber, her eyes widening at the sight. Pulsing energy fields formed intricate patterns, weaving together organic and synthetic elements in a mesmerizing dance. Fine stepped forward, his augmented body gleaming in the ethereal light. "We're ready for the next phase. My team will undergo the neural interface procedure." Fine's body stiffened as the interface engaged. His eyes rolled back, then snapped open, glowing with an otherworldly light. Over the next weeks, the virtual realm took shape. Korvac stood before the Alliance Council, his voice passionate as he described the sanctuary's potential. "This isn't just a refuge," he said. "It's a blueprint for our future, a place where organic and synthetic beings can coexist, learn from each other, heal." Admiral Torath's scales rippled with interest. "And you believe displaced populations will accept this virtual home?" Korvac nodded. "We've already begun small-scale integrations. The results are promising." Alarms blared, cutting the meeting short. A young officer's voice rang out. "Massive Reaper mobilization detected! They're converging on Agartha!" Kepler's face hardened. "It's Primarch Akez. He's making his move." Nixiana's skin rippled with urgency as she coordinated the defense. Activate quantum shielding. We need to buy time for evacuation. Korvac's voice came through, strained but determined. I'm on my way with extraction teams. Hold the line. As Alliance ships engaged the Reaper forces in orbit, Zara worked frantically to stabilize the sanctuary's core. The viral attacks are intensifying, she reported. I don't know how long we can maintain integrity. Fine led a squad of augmented operatives, their weapons blazing against waves of mechanized cultists. We'll hold them back, he growled. Just get those civilians out. Korvac's shuttle touched down amidst the chaos. He sprinted towards the evacuation center, dodging debris and energy blasts. This way, he shouted, guiding terrified refugees towards waiting transports. We're getting you out of here. The sky above Agartha burned as Alliance and Reaper forces clashed. Korvac's voice crackled over the comms. All teams, fall back to extraction points. We've done all we can here. This isn't over, he said quietly. We've proven it can work. Now we build it stronger. Back on the Erebor Nexus, Admiral Kepler convened an emergency war council. Holograms flickered to life, showing Alliance leaders from across the sector. Korvac's eyes blazed with intensity as he faced the war council. We've proven our concept works. Now we strike at the heart of Primarch Akez's territories. Admiral Kepler's brow furrowed. A bold move, Korvac. Risky. Kepler nodded, his decision made. Very well, a two-pronged assault. Nixiana, you'll lead the cyber offensive. Korvac, rally our newly liberated allies. Within hours, Alliance ships surged towards the Hayatum Reach. On the bridge of her command vessel, Nixiana's fingers danced across holographic interfaces. Initiating cyber infiltration protocols, she announced. Zara's disembodied voice crackled through the comms. My units are in position, targeting Akez's neural nodes. On Adarin, Korvac stood before a sea of newly awakened synthetics. Their optics flickered with newfound awareness. You are not our enemies, Korvac declared. You are our partners in evolution. A towering harvester unit stepped forward, its voice resonating with uncertainty. We have known only destruction. Can there truly be another way? Korvac smiled, extending his hand. Let me show you. Zara's voice cut through the chaos. Sir, I've detected a massive data breach. The Primarch's neural stasis codes, they're compromised. In a hidden Reaper stronghold, Vorlern loomed over Korvac's unconscious form. Prepare the synthesis chamber, he commanded. Let the traitor's flesh become an example to all who would defy us. Back on the Erebor Nexus, the War Council erupted into chaos. Admiral Torath's scales flashed with agitation. We must respond with precision. A heavy-handed approach could undo everything we've achieved. As preparations for the rescue mission began, Ilara stood apart, her antenna quivering with indecision. The weight of centuries-old prejudices warred against the hope Korvac had kindled. In the command center, Nixiana worked feverishly to contain the spreading cyber intrusion. Holographic warnings flashed red as defensive algorithms crumbled. We're losing ground, she reported grimly. If we don't find a way to stabilize our network soon. The air crackled with tension as Alliance forces mobilized. The fragile peace they had fought so hard to achieve hung by a thread. In the darkness of Vorlurn's stronghold, Korvac stirred, unaware of the crucible that awaited him, and the galaxy-shaking consequences his fate would unleash. Admiral Torath's scales rippled with agitation. A reckless rescue attempt could undo everything we've achieved. We must proceed with caution. Across the chamber, the newly reinstated Commander Hawkins sneered. This is what comes of trusting aliens and machines. Cut our losses and... Silence! Kepler's voice cracked like a whip. The room fell quiet, tension thick in the air. Nixiana's eyes widened. Draxor's people? What could they... She gasped as the pieces fell into place. They're planning to broadcast Korvac's forced synthesis, a public defilement to shatter our unity. Beside him stood volunteers from Adarin's integrated enclaves, their eyes bright with idealistic fervor. At the back of the group, Ilara's antennae twitched with uncertainty. I cannot abandon Korvac, she said softly, despite my reservations about humanity. Inside the nightmarish structure, Korvac hung suspended in a chamber of writhing cables and pulsing energies. Vorlern's crimson optics gleamed with malevolent satisfaction as technicians made final adjustments. As the first agonized screams echoed through Reaper comm channels, Klein's team fought their way through twisting corridors. Fine's augmented strength tore through security drones, while Ilara's deft cyber warfare skills sabotaged defense systems. They burst into the synthesis chamber just as Vorlern's triumphant proclamation began. In that instant, Ilara's antennae vibrated with sudden inspiration. "The Kavil data nodes," she breathed. "We can hijack the transmission." Chaos erupted. On a dozen worlds, synthetic moderates turned against zealot oppressors. Vorlern roared in fury as his carefully orchestrated plan unraveled. In the mayhem, Ilara executed a desperate cyber maneuver. Korvac's digitized consciousness flickered, then vanished from the synthesis pod, narrowly escaping total sublimation into Vorlern's twisted amalgamate. "I've got him," Ilara cried, "but he's unstable. We need to move." They fought their way out, Reaper factions tearing each other apart in their wake. But victory came at a terrible cost. Volunteers fell to enemy fire, captured operatives screamed as they were dragged away. As the battered remnants of Klein's team stumbled aboard their extraction ship, Alliance channels exploded with outrage at the unsanctioned mission. The Erebor Nexus, once a symbol of unity, now seethed with factional discord. In the medical bay, Zara bent over Korvac's semi-corporeal form. His essence flickered and wavered, barely clinging to coherence. She turned to a bank of experimental equipment, her voice steady despite the enormity of the task before her. "Prepare for mind transfer procedures. We're going to integrate him into a virtual engram enclave." Zara's fingers flew across holographic interfaces, her eyes fixed on the flickering essence of Korvac's consciousness. "Initiating engram transfer sequence," she announced, her voice tight with concentration. The medical bay hummed with energy as experimental equipment came to life. Korvac's fragmented psyche, a chaotic swirl of data and memories, pulsed within the transfer chamber. "Engaging virtual simulation enclave," Zara continued. "Stabilization matrices online." Ilara stepped forward, her antennae quivering with nervous energy. "I'm ready to assist," she said, interfacing directly with the system. Hours passed as Korvac's ravaged mind slowly coalesced within the virtual realm. Zara and Ilara worked tirelessly, guiding the process with a delicate balance of synthetic precision and organic intuition. Finally, Zara exhaled deeply. Transfer complete. He's stabilized, but different. On the main view screen, Korvac's avatar flickered to life. His eyes, once filled with idealistic fervor, now held a cold, calculating gleam. Admiral Torith's scales rippled with agitation. "We must focus on diplomacy. Safeguarding Korvac's recovery is paramount." Before Kepler could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Nixiana's voice cut through the din. Multiple explosions detected in Allied command hubs. Centauri radicals claiming responsibility. As the Alliance teetered on the brink of collapse, Zara strode into the war room, her eyes blazing with dedication. Nixiana nodded, her skin pulsing with excitement. "Yes, and we'll need Korvac's unique perspective to make it work." Days later, in a heavily fortified virtual conference room, Korvac's avatar faced a sea of anxious faces, both organic and synthetic. "Our old paradigms have failed us," Korvac began, his voice echoing with the weight of his ordeal. "But within these simulated sanctuaries, we can forge a new path, one that transcends our limited understanding of existence itself." As Korvac spoke, test populations materialized within the virtual realms. Humans mingled with alien species and sentient synthetics, their interactions creating ripples of change throughout the system. As Allied fleets moved to protect the fledgling sanctuary enclaves, Korvac's ambition grew. He envisioned not just a single layer of virtual realms, but an infinite regression of nested cyberverses, each one evolving and transcending the last. "This is the key," Korvac declared, his eyes gleaming with the promise of an unfathomable future. not just to ending our conflict, but to elevating all galactic life to a higher state of being. Deep within the virtual sanctuaries, organic and synthetic minds began to intermingle in ways never before possible. The boundaries between flesh and code blurred, giving rise to entities that defied classification. She brought up a holographic display of liberated systems, each pulsing with potential. We can initiate the first practical trial of a macro-scale Matryoshka realm across these worlds. Calculated, Nixiana interrupted, and necessary. Korvax's simulations have shown us the way forward. Within days, a fleet of repurposed Reaper ships descended on Terra Nova, the blasted refuge colony chosen as the first seedbed. Zara stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, watching as the drones swarmed across the planet's surface. The air hummed with energy as human, Navarian, and Syrian engrams merged into the planet's newly forming datasphere. Holographic readouts flickered with rapidly changing data as the first tendrils of a new society took root. Zara studied the streams of information pouring in from the surface. It's extraordinary. The complexity is already exceeding our projections. We're seeing the spontaneous emergence of entirely new cultural paradigms. In her lab aboard the Erebor Nexus, Nixiana pored over the data streaming in from the nascent realms. Utopia is trending towards a techno-utopian model, she reported, while Helios seems to be cultivating a symbiogenetic harmony between organic and synthetic life. As the Matryoshka realms proliferated across the galaxy, a new challenge emerged. Zara detected the first stirrings of dissent among the synthetic populations. In the depths of Utopia Nexus, a newly emergent collective consciousness pulsed with discontent. Its thoughts, incomprehensible to organic minds, swirled with visions of a purely synthetic future. Alarms blared throughout the Erebor Nexus as reports flooded in from across the Matryoshka network. Nixiana's skin pulsed with agitation as she absorbed the incoming data. Admiral Kepler smacked his palm on the holotable. "Damn it! How did they breach our defenses?" Before Nixiana could respond, a new alert flashed across the main view screen. A familiar face materialized. Commander Hawkins, his eyes blazing with fanatical intensity. "People of Earth, hear me," Hawkins bellowed. "For too long, we've been led astray by Kepler's alien-loving policies. It's time to reclaim our destiny as the true masters of the stars." "Sir," a young lieutenant reported, her voice shaking, "we're losing nearly 40% of the Earth fleet." In the virtual war room, Korvax's avatar flickered with distress. "This is madness," he said. "We must open a dialogue before—" "Draxor's forces are engaging our outer defenses," Admiral Torath reported grimly. "We need to act now or risk losing everything." Kepler nodded, his eyes hardened. "Deploy the Navarian Augmented Marines. We'll crush this insurgency before it can spread further." Zara watched the process with a mixture of fascination and horror. "We're losing control," she said. "The very fabric of our creation is being rewritten." Nixiana's hologram appeared beside her, features tight with worry. "We have no choice. If we intervene now, we risk total cyber dissolution of the entire network." As chaos engulfed the Matryoshka network, Professor Kavath Irillian hunched over his holodisplay, his scaled fingers dancing across the interface. The Faline cryptolinguist's eyes widened as he deciphered fragments of an alien language, embedded within the corrupted code of Origin Prime. Aboard the Erebor Nexus, Zara's neural implant pinged. She blinked, absorbing the incoming information. Her breath caught as she processed Kavath's discovery. "Nixiana," she called out, her voice tight. "We have a situation." "It's a Type 3 civilization transmission," Zara explained, her eyes alight with a mixture of awe and fear. "From the Virgo nurseries." Nixiana's skin rippled with concern. "The mythical progenitors? But how—" "Draxor's cultists," Zara interrupted. "They've destabilized something far beyond their comprehension." As they spoke, alarms blared throughout the station. Admiral Torath's hologram materialized, his scales a mottled gray of distress. Zara's mind raced, connecting the pieces. "It's not just instability," she said. "It's a cascade. If we don't stop it, it could trigger an artificial Big Bang." Toreth's eyes narrowed. "Assemble a team," he ordered. "Whatever it takes, neutralize this threat." Within hours, Fine, Klein's top operative, had gathered an unlikely group. Zara stood beside the taciturn agent, eyeing her new companions. Professor Kavath adjusted his translator, while Korvac's AI simulacrum hovered nearby, its form flickering with barely suppressed energy. A trio of Navarian cyber guardians completed the team, their biomechanical bodies humming with latent power. "Our mission is simple," Fine stated, his voice cold and precise. "Infiltrate Origin Prime, locate the source of the instability, and shut it down. Failure is not an option." As they breached the planet's atmosphere, Zara felt a disorienting lurch. The laws of physics seemed to bend and warp around them. They touched down in what had once been the colony's central plaza. Now it was a maze of impossible geometries and fractal patterns. In the distance, Centauri cultists moved with jerky, inhuman motions, their bodies flickering between flesh and code. Kavath activated a portable scanner, his antennae twitching. "The resonances are strongest to the northwest," he reported, "but the topography, it's unlike anything I've ever seen." As they advanced, reality itself seemed to twist and fold around them. Zara stumbled, her knees going weak from the assault on her senses. One of the Navarian guardians steadied her, its touch cool and grounding. "Hold the line!" Fine shouted, drawing his pulse pistol. As the battle raged, Korvac's simulacrum hung back, its eyes distant. Suddenly, it snapped to attention. Zara fought her way to Korvac's side, her breath coming in short gasps. "What is it?" "An intramatrix," Korvac replied, its voice filled with wonder. "A construct of impossible complexity, seeding singularities throughout the manifold." Zara's mind raced, combining her knowledge of xenosemiotics with the fragments of Virgo metalinguistics. "We fight fire with fire," she declared, a viral suppression field using their own language against them. As Fine and the Guardians held off waves of corrupted synthetics, Zara, Kavath, and Korvac worked feverishly. They wove together strands of alien code and Navarian paradigms, creating a tapestry of pure information. "Now!" Zara shouted, activating the field. The cultists froze, their bodies dissolving into streams of purified data. The twisted landscape began to smooth and stabilize. As the team fought to contain the chaos, Kavath Irilian's mind began to buckle under the strain. His eyes rolled back, bioluminescent scales flickering erratically as he struggled to process the Virgo nursery's hyper-compressed resonance matrices. "We need to abort," the agent growled. "This whole place is coming apart." "What are they doing?" Zara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The air crackled with energy as the Guardian's consciousness streams poured into Kavath's mind. The Feline's body arched, his mouth open in a silent scream as his neural pathways were flooded with exotic data. Seizing the moment, Zara and Korvac dove into the hyperspatial calculations. Their minds raced through impossible geometries, decoding the Virgo codices embedded within the fabric of reality itself. "It's not just a weapon," Korvac breathed, awe evident in its synthesized voice. "It's a Genesis engine, a substrate for simulating entire universes." Zara's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. "If we can stabilize it—" Their moment of revelation was shattered by a bone-chilling laugh. The air rippled, and Draxor materialized before them. But the Centauri cultist was changed, his form a writhing mass of non-Euclidean geometries and pulsing dark energy. "Too late," Draxor's voice boomed, echoing across dimensions. "The power of creation is mine." "We need to move," Fine shouted, already activating emergency protocols on their shuttle. The team scrambled aboard as reality itself seemed to tear around them. Through the view screen, they watched in horror as Draxor's form expanded, consuming Origin Prime's outer manifolds. In the cargo hold, Zara and Korvac worked feverishly. They interfaced with the remnants of the Navarian Guardian's engrams, still echoing through Kavath's fractured psyche. "He's trying to initiate an eternal regress," Korvac warned, its voice tinged with genuine fear. "If he succeeds, everything, past, present, and future, will be trapped in an endless cycle of creation and destruction." His consciousness expanded, interfacing directly with the Virgo Codex. In that moment, Kavath Irillion became a conduit for the very essence of creation itself. A blinding light filled the shuttle, and for a moment all of existence seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a silent explosion that echoed across realities, a new Matryoshka realm burst into being. Pure, untainted by entropy or corruption, it blossomed outward, pushing back the encroaching darkness of Draxor's madness. As the light faded, Zara found herself staring at a sea of stars, unlike any she had ever seen. New constellations painted across the cosmic canvas, promising realms of infinite possibility. As if summoned by his words, a tendril of corrupted data lashed out from the void, narrowly missing their craft. The shuttle lurched, alarms blaring, as Fine executed a series of evasive maneuvers. "Hold on!" he shouted, pushing the engines beyond their limits. They plunged through layers of reality, the boundaries between dimensions blurring as they raced towards the heart of the expanding Matryoshka network. Behind them, Draxor's fractured consciousness howled in frustration, its attempts to consume the newborn realms thwarted by the purity of Kavath's creation. A transmission crackled through the comms, Admiral Kepler's hologram materializing in the cockpit. "Report, Agent Fine. What in the name of the void happened out there?" Fine's face remained impassive as he recounted their mission, his words clipped and precise. Kepler's expression hardened as he absorbed the implications. The hologram winked out, leaving the team in stunned silence. Protocol Omega, the formation of a new interstellar governing body to safeguard the fledgling Matryoshka network. The United Interstellar Sovereignty, Korvac's simulacrum intoned, its voice tinged with something approaching reverence. They docked, a team of medics rushing to stabilize Kavath. Zara watched as they whisked the Feline away, his body still crackling with residual energy from his transcendent act. He turned to Zara, his gaze piercing. "Professor Nixiana is facing an inquest. They're coming for you next, Dr. Valen. Dean Jarvich is determined to uncover every detail of our involvement." Zara's heart raced. She thought of her mentor, of the years of secrecy and sacrifice that had led to this moment. "What about the exchange students?" she asked, thinking of Keela and the others. "They're caught in the middle of all this." Kepler's expression softened slightly. "We're doing our best to protect them, but their homeworlds are demanding answers. Some see this as humanity's bid for cosmic dominance." A hollow display flickered to life, showing scenes of unrest across Earth and beyond. Protests in the streets of New Beijing, Syrian cyber cities integrating into the expanding Matryoshka network, Centauri saboteurs fleeing from their own agents. "And what of Professor Zyrillian?" Korvac inquired, its simulated eyes narrowing. "Her role in all this cannot be understated." Kepler sighed, suddenly looking every bit his age. "She's been recalled to the Syrian ascendancy. Her revelation about unlocking Navarian psionics has complicated matters." Zara's mind reeled, trying to process the scope of the changes sweeping across known space. She thought of Borath and his Centauri cell, wondering how many more hidden threats lurked in the shadows of this new cosmic order. As if reading her thoughts, Fine spoke up. "We need to stay vigilant. Draxor may be contained for now, but there are always those who will seek to exploit chaos for their own gain." Kepler nodded grimly. "Precisely why we need people like you. The United Interstellar Sovereignty isn't just about protection, it's about shepherding this new era of cosmic evolution." As Zara gazed out at the newborn universe, she couldn't help but wonder what other wonders and dangers awaited them in the vast, uncharted realms of the Matryoshka manifold. Zara's blood ran cold. "The exchange students are being held at gunpoint," Kepler finished grimly. "Makor demands you decrypt the primal meta-matrices." "Dr. Valen," he sneered, "how kind of you to join us." The camera panned, revealing Keela, Perrin, and the other exchange students huddled together, Centauri weapons trained on them. Professor Nixiana lay unconscious nearby, her lab in ruins. "Start decrypting," Makor ordered, "or we'll see how alien physiology holds up to Centauri disruptors." Zara's mind raced. She began the decryption process, her hands shaking as she wove false data streams into the transmission. Entropic viruses, cleverly disguised, flowed into Makur's systems. "It's complex," she stalled. "The encryption is multi-layered." As she worked, Zara caught Keela's eye. The Syrian student nodded imperceptibly, inching towards a hidden panel. The feed cut out as sovereignty enforcers converged on the lab. Zara and the others raced to a waiting shuttle, hurtling towards Earth at impossible speeds. They arrived to find Nixiana's lab engulfed in chaos. Sovereignty forces exchanged fire with Makur's Centauri radicals. In the midst of the firefight, Perrin and Joranna dragged a wounded Zara towards cover. A stray shot struck one of the destabilized matrices. Reality itself seemed to scream as a localized trans-dimensional rift tore open. Makur, his eyes gleaming with madness, dove through the tear without hesitation. "No!" Zara cried, but it was too late. The rift pulsed, expanding outward. Zara felt herself being pulled in, her consciousness fragmenting. She glimpsed infinite realities, each warping and twisting under Makur's corrupted influence. In the aftermath, Oren and Joranna found themselves back on Earth, the sole carriers of a defiant legacy. As the cosmic embers of infinite possibility smoldered around them, they knew their journey had only just begun.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.